Earlier this evening, I had the pleasure of addressing a local swim organization that has over 10,000 swimmers as a part of it. And the committee was hearing on inclusion of trans identified individuals into the opposite sex sports categories, particularly swimming. And I gave this speech, and I hope that you can use it in the future to inspire your own arguments or in place of an argument that you may not feel like you're able to articulate. So here we go. Good evening. My name is Cynthia Braheny, and not only was I a recreational swimmer in my youth, I also dealt with gender dysphoria throughout my life. I also got to use my swimming skills and underwater phototherapy to help me heal from my dysphoria. I was around 6 when I felt so disgusted by my genitals that I wanted to carve them out or somehow end my life to try and start over in a new body. My mother affirmed these awful feelings by telling me that I was meant to be a boy, that there were girl things and there were boy things, girl clothes and boy clothes, and that because I liked boy things and clothes, I really was a boy inside. I had a very difficult time getting along with girls. I never really fit in with and avoided them for most of my school years. Conversely, I had an easy time making friends with boys. However, I was told by my mother and others that my body was female despite all of these signs that I was a boy, and that it was inescapable. There was nothing I could do about it. I wanted desperately to believe that wasn't true, but it became extremely apparent around puberty that they were right. Around this age, it is blatantly obvious that boys and girls, and by extension, men and women, are different. The boys certainly knew it and started distancing themselves from me. They were all having a shared experience that I wasn't a part of, and that was distressing. However, at the same time, the girls were also having a shared experience, and I finally started having something to relate to with the other girls. I started making female friends. My gender dysphoria started to lift a bit. This is historically common with cases of what we call early onset gender dysphoria. Over 80% of these cases resolve around puberty. I believe mine probably would have had I not experienced severe sexual trauma that cemented it in, but that's a story for another time. What I want to stress here is the reality of these situations and the importance of it in sports. Thanks to evolutionary and developmental biology, we know boys and girls develop differently. Sports reflect that in a unique way by showcasing those undeniable realities of not just the bodies in play, but also the psychosocial development those boys and girls are going through. There is a robust body of empirical research spanning decades to show how girls, in particular, are benefited by sports. By 13 or 14, self-esteem is shown to drop significantly in girls compared to boys. However, girls who play sports are often buffered from the ravages of low self-esteem, thanks to the self-worth and community that comes along with those sports. Part of that is the sense of belonging, but also the fairness, external and internal rewards of competition that help support and develop psychosocial health of girls and boys engaged in these sports beyond a doubt. And that's in spite of any other controlled variables, including birth order, fatherlessness, and growing up underprivileged. This clearly goes deeper than recreation. This body of evidence is so uniquely robust, it by far outweighs any alleged benefits of affirming the false belief of a gender identity. In fact, going by gender identity and not by sex may do more harm than good. To illustrate this, allow me to leave you with some questions to consider. Is it not a worthwhile venture to give these children a chance to be part of a team or athletic group of peers of their own sex? How might my dysphoria have been impacted by having been amongst other girls with a shared goal and experience and a sense of belonging? How will girls be impacted by having the fairness and integrity of their sports and spaces compromised by allowing males to come into them? Conversely, how might it impact the mental health and well-being of a girl having to compete against boys who will undeniably surpass her physically at every turn with no shared lived experience to compare to? These situations would most likely cause a girl to focus solely on what their bodies can't do, which I know from experience is detrimental to mental health and encourages self-loathing and chances of self-harm. It encourages body dysmorphia chances of all kinds. Further, I also know from experience that it is not only unsafe and demoralizing to force boys and girls to undress together, but it is also a form of sexual violence to force or compel girls to undress in the presence of a male. If that alone is self-evident to you, then you must also acknowledge all the other physical differences of males and females. The science is very clear about the athletic advantages men and boys have over women and girls. To pretend otherwise is to be a science denier. It's not just about winning, it's about fairness, reality, honesty, and kindness in the truest sense to maintain the integrity of sex-segregated sports and spaces. Let's not forget the fact that though people may identify otherwise, they are not barred from competing with others of their same sex. Examples of this off the top of my head are Megan Rapinoe, who plays soccer on a women's team despite identifying as non-binary, and Isaac Hainig and Hergy Basiagan, who both identify as men and are female and still compete in women's swimming and boxing, respectively. We are also not barring a voluntary mixed-sex open category. I was one of these kids who believed I was meant to be the opposite sex. Thankfully, I was not affirmed and I did not transition. Affirmation and playing along with this false belief may seem kind, but in actuality, it is not. You are telling people, including children, who feel this way that they are right. They were born in the wrong body. Their feelings of disgust and self-loathing surrounding their bodies are accurate. Only people who lie to them and affirm those debilitating feelings love them, and that the fairness and consideration of others don't matter. This isn't kindness towards anyone, not the afflicted, and not to the others who are forced or compelled to play along with this harmful lie. In Canada, this same argument of inclusivity and kindness is being used by a 50-year-old man who competes against 12-year-old girls and changes in locker rooms with 8-year-old girls. Their parents have to construct makeshift tents to shield their girls from him because he refuses to leave, as he believes he belongs there, and the Canadian authorities encourage him. Swim Ontario and Swimming Canada fully support him, stating, quote, "Swimming is for everyone. People of all shapes, sizes, genders, beliefs, and backgrounds should swim to the best of their ability, with the expectation that our registrants treat each other with respect and dignity and keep our sport environment free from harassment and abuse." If you scoff at this 50-year-old man swimming and changing with young girls, I ask why. You can no more change your age than you can change your sex. If you believe the young girls in that scenario are not being afforded the, quote, respect and dignity they are affording that man and his false belief that he is one of them, I ask why not. It is no less absurd and no less cruel to affirm the false beliefs of others, again, children included, that something is wrong with them, that they do not belong amongst those of their own sex, that everyone must lie and conform to their objectively false beliefs, and thrust them into sports and spaces of the opposite sex, instead of prioritizing fairness and true kindness for all by saying, no, that's not reality. The reality is, we play sports with bodies, not gender identities.